that kind of mesmerize them, or they see a large raccoon running along next to their car. All sorts of strange stories that come to people's minds and are not explainable during their missing time episodes.
Well, getting back to like lost time, back years ago, I bought a brand new van, and I told you this before. I was driving it home from the dealership. I was just driving and enjoying having a brand new spanking van. It was my first brand new van. I was so happy, right? And here I was driving it, and a guy hits me head on. And the guy was doing what the State Patrol later told me he probably was doing about 50 miles an hour when he hit me. It hit me with such a force, okay? I was buckled up on the seat, with the seat belts and all that stuff. It ripped the seat right off the floorboard. Now, this is all in slow motion. I was watching this. This is so weird because I saw everything. I saw the front of the motor started coming into the cab. I see myself flying in the air. I see both sides and the ceiling of the cab, not the cab, but, inside the van as I'm flying to the very back of the van. I'm seeing this all in real slow motion. And then I'm seeing this motor, coming towards me till it stopped. And then, boom, there it was. And, they told me afterwards, they said, well, that's normal, when you go through an impact like that, time kind of stands still. But to me, it was more than just that, because how could I have seen all the stuff that was transpiring if it was happening instantaneously in a millisecond and noticed all this stuff? It was so weird.
Yes, that sounds just like a classic out-of-body experience that you might have experienced. And I've even heard these stories where your guardian angel or whoever takes you out of your body immediately before a major trauma, just so that you don't experience that. You experience the trauma from a distance, which is a little bit easier to do, I would imagine. So many times those stories are remarkable, and yours is one of those amazing stories.
Well, I can tell you this, when the State Patrol got there and the medics got there, I was still strapped in incoherent. Okay, they unbuckled me, they got me out, they told me to lie down, I refused, I stood up there and talking to them, and all of a sudden I blacked out, and then that was the end of it, till I got to the hospital and woke up. But
wow,
it was like, if it happened in a millisecond, to me, it seemed like minutes. That's how I absorbed everything. I have never had that feeling I had like that in my life since then, or ever before then. I mean, I could see everything so clearly of it, self-destructing when that car hit it. I mean, it was just weird. I mean, I even I seen stuff flying in the air in front of me as it was going on. It was just so weird. So, I mean, maybe time does slow down. Maybe we can control it. I don't know.
Yes. Well, I remember the old movie Somewhere in Time with Christopher Reeve and Jane Seymour, and the fact that this guy falls in love with a painting or a picture from early 1900s and just has to go back in time to meet her. And, of course, he wills himself to do that in the movie. But the kind of things seem to be happening to people just like yourself. And it's fascinating things that we need to talk about more on our shows, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. So now you still practice law, and you got you're trying to get a pilot going for a TV show, correct?
Yes, we are actually filming our, what they call a pitch pilot for a non-scripted reality television show called the UFO I-Team. And we are in a serious group of UFO and paranormal investigators who, at this point on this episode, we're going up to a small, isolated community in the North Cascades of Washington State to have a town hall meeting and solicit UFO and Bigfoot sighting reports, and then we're going to follow up on the investigations and put them on film. And I think it'll be entertaining, and it'll also be very enlightening, I think, to folks if we get this thing put on potentially a network series.
Oh, yeah, or a cable or something. I mean, I think it would be awesome because, you know, they how can I say this? They said ghost hunting is dead. They said UFO is dead. You know, Art told me before his passing, he said, bullshit. Bullshit.
Yeah.
The UFO thing is more hotter than ever. And, you know, I agree. I mean, it's just so many things out there that kind of connect. And, you know, you just can't have a close eye on any of it. I mean, be it a Bigfoot or little people or UFOs, I mean, you know, if it wasn't for people like you know, investigating, you know, even if nothing happens, but you and your friends go out there and you see strange things out in the sky and strange things happen out in the woods, you know, there's more things that go bump in the night than a majority of the people walking around the street do.
Yes, you're right, and our goal, of course, is to share that information that we find with the general public, the government, anybody else who's interested, just to make sure that we understand what we're dealing with, you know, out here in this big wide world. It's a fascinating place to grow up and be alive right now on this planet, and I'm so fortunate to have been born in 1952 to be able to be alive at this point.
Okay, 1952. Mine was January 8th, 1952.
Yeah, well, you're ahead of me by about 9 months because I was in September.
Okay. So if you actually, what would you do if you and your group actually were out there somewhere on a farm or out there in the woods or out wherever looking for UFOs? What happens, seriously, if one landed in front of you? Would you guys run away? Would you sit there and, you know, like take a tablet out and say, hey, can I have your autograph and can I get your picture standing next to it so I can show it to, you know, the guys in black that you guys really exist? Or in my case, get in your car and step on the gas and get the hell out of there.
Well, we have a group of 10 people on the UFOI team, and in that group you're going to find a lot of different personalities. A lot of them are experiencers themselves, though, and I would imagine that most of them would not run and would try to communicate in some respect with whatever is going on. I know I always try to think of myself as Professor Lacombe in Close Encounters of the Third Kind, when that giant mothership comes over and hovers low behind the Devil's Tower. And, of course, everybody's scrambling, all the scientists and everybody who is gathered there, and Professor Lacombe is standing right underneath the center of it with his arm raised as in if it was a welcome sign. And I just hope I would have, half the courage to be able to do something like that, at least not run away.
Well, boy, I tell you one thing, you got more courage than I do. But, you know, you're a lawyer. You have to, have the balls. I wouldn't do it. I mean, seriously, I just remember that time when I was flashing that light with my friends over on Kamehameha Island, and that boat kept coming closer to the shore, and we turned it off. And then we heard that noise, and I tell you, that'd be enough, if you're out there, filming and shining lights at a UFO. If one decided to land, I would say, hey, guess what? You're a good friend, but you know what?
Yeah.
you find out, not me.
Turn around and keep the cameras running.
Yeah, but my luck, I would get in the car, and you know what happened? That UFO would see me get in the car, taking off, while you guys are all standing and waving, right? They're going to figure out, why is that guy running away? He has something to hide, right? So they're going to zap me with a laser, and then I'm going to be history.
Yeah, abduct you and the car at the same time.
Or is this
you'll never know why you ended up 20 miles away when you woke up.
Yeah, and married to a different woman in a different generation.
There you go.
Yeah, I'd hate to find myself in 1764. You know that.
Oh, wouldn't that? There are stories about those things. Of course, you see movies about that every once in a while. But the whole Stargate episodes are about that, and I have a feeling that those are being foisted upon us for some kind of a reason. That time travel is possible and probably has already been accomplished.
Well, 1764 was a bad year.
Yes.
You're not going to ask me why. You're wrecking the joke. You know that.
Oh, well, tell us all then about it.
Well, it's simple. 1764 was a bad year. Everybody who was born that year is dead.
Very good.
Well,
You're right.
I guess it wasn't good, but you kind of wrecked my little joke at the start. But hey, what can I say? It's live radio.
You're right.
You guys aren't paying for anything. It's free. Remember, it's free live radio. Now, are you going to take your legal advice from him, a lawyer, or are you going to take legal advice from me, somebody that doesn't know anything about the law at all?
Well, and I always have to give the caveat, Gary, is that I'm only licensed to practice law in the state of Washington. So, and whatever legal advice you think you're getting from this, any shows that I'm on or that we're involved with, is not to be meant to be taken seriously, and you need to go talk with your own legal counsel about anything that you would like to find out as far as the legal aspects of these interesting subjects are being taken, that's for sure.
Well, I know one thing. If I get abducted by an alien, okay, I guess it isn't going to do any good to hire you to sue them, is it?
Right. That would be an interesting lawsuit, except potentially if you're being abducted by the military, the MyLab abductions. Now, that would be a lawsuit that would be interesting to pursue.
Yeah, that's the other thing. You never know if in the past, some of the abductions maybe could have been even carried out by the military just to keep people confused. I've heard many stories of that.
Yes. Matter of fact, one of the popular theories out there is that the government indeed is abducting people who have been previously abducted by aliens. The idea being is that they think they can learn more from the people that were abducted or have been abducted than they can by trying to communicate or capture an alien themselves. And so a lot of these folks out there who might have previous abduction experiences potentially have further abduction experiences that seem to be alien-oriented but aren't. They might even be screen memories themselves planted in by the military as they're being abducted, so that people believe that they're being abducted by aliens, and of course they're a little bit more reticent to even talk about those, so that's kind of potentially how they get away with it.
Well, it'd be a good way to actually do that, because then you can use those people to help to debunk the whole situation. You know, if you get a couple of people going around saying, I was abducted by a UFO, I was sleeping at night, and all of a sudden I was making love to a gray, you know, and getting people talking about that kind of really clouds up the whole abduction UFO thing a lot, because, you know, if you hear a story like that, and I have heard it. I heard it on Art Bell even, where a lady claimed that she was, one of his guests was abducted, you know, in her own bed, and an alien took advantage of her. And, you know, it makes you, did they believe that themselves, or was that implanted in their head one way or another to actually help debunk the whole situation about UFOs and aliens?
Yes, exactly. And there are those out there that believe that many of those disinformation campaigns are out there to do just that, to create plausible deniability for government programs and potentially aliens that are actually here doing these kinds of abduction as well. There are lots of different things we don't know. about, but more and more these stories are coming out, and if you